Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Jacob Restituto, and I'm a musician from Northport, New York. And today I have the absolute pleasure of chatting with and talking to DJ Alice from Wish 107.5, all the way 12 hours ahead of me in the Philippines at the moment. So I appreciate you taking the time. Thank you so much for hanging out.
Of course, thank you so much for having me. And well, just a fun fact, we actually were trying to make this work for quite some time now
Yeah,
because both of our schedules are so crazy.
they are. They are. I really have to say, your work ethic is incredibly impressive.
Well, thank you very much. Well, the grind is real always. I've always been a firm believer that if you love what you're doing, you never really work a day in your life. So I guess I loved it too much to the point that all of my days are all just work.
I hear you. Hey, that's kind of, you know what though? Like, to some degree, work has become my hobby too, though. Like, I just love what I do. Like, on the days where I don't want to work, it's like I do the things that I enjoy doing. Because I think even in loving what we do, there are some things that are like become tedious or not the
Hmm.
most favorite things. But I save those for the work days, and then the other days I'm like, oh, if I want to make music on my day off, I'm like, I want to make music. Like, I'm not gonna make it so that I can't, you know what I mean? But man, your work schedule is pretty intense. It's like I think it was like you work 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. pretty much every day,
Yep.
right?
That's basically my everyday because I have a morning show that goes on from 9 up until 12 noon. That's the Wonderland on Wish 1075, as you can see. This is my actual home setup because we've been working from home since last year. So I've been doing this all just from the comfort of my home
Wow.
ever since then because lockdowns haven't really lifted up here in the Philippines. It's
Hmm.
still pretty much the same ever since. So yeah, I start the day with 9 to 12 and then from 4 to 8 I have my other radio show. That's the show on the Wish Bus that goes live every day. So that's 4 to 8 where I usually have guests. And then from 8 to 9 I have a Facebook live stream and a TikTok live stream also called Wish Connect for Wish 1075. And that
Hmm.
little break in the middle, that like 12 up until 4, I usually record stuff for my side hustles because I'm also a full-time voiceover artist. So I usually voice different YouTube channels. And
Wow.
yeah,
That
that's what I do
I
in
did not
between.
know that actually. That is very fascinating. I would love to talk about that for a sec. So, how did you get into that? Where did that come from? Like, let's talk about that.
Okay, so ever since the work from home thing started, I was like, oh no, so since COVID is going to be a thing, so it's just good to be prepared, right? You have to
Sure.
be like thinking about finances and everything. So I was like, why don't I try something new? Why don't I try like a side hustle? Because one of the things that was really affected by the COVID pandemic is live events and hosting. I usually do that a lot. I
Hmm.
usually host events and host other random stuff. And I thought of, well, what's something that's up my alley that doesn't need me to go outside? So then I joined lots of like voiceover groups here in the Philippines where, you can get tips for like commercials, for like other auditions and everything. And then, yeah, I just started from there. I asked for tips from those people that I know. And then I also came across this website, Upwork. And
Okay.
for some reason, that's where I got all of the work in. And I just got lots of offers. And ever since then, I've been working all my days away right there. I'm currently voicing a total of 4 YouTube channels at the moment,
Wow. That is
excluding Wish.
fascinating. So, voiceover in the sense of where they don't even see you, right? You're just the talk
Yeah.
behind it, right? That is so
Yeah.
fascinating.
So
That
I
is
just do
really
narrations of certain things. Like if you know, like, I guess, movie reviews or just recaps
okay.
where you don't see people.
Yep.
Yeah, it's sort of like that.
That is wild. Are you able to share which ones you're working with, or is that you keep that under wraps?
I'm going to keep that
Yeah. Okay. Sounds
under the
good.
wraps, but
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
That's pretty. That's pretty amazing, though. I think that is really cool. That's such a unique niche that I think is just a really fun one that to hear about. That's pretty cool. What is your favorite part about that? Since it's relatively new for you, what has been your favorite part about it?
Well, actually being informed about certain things because
Hmm.
the YouTube channels I voice range from like informative ones about, health and lifestyle to gossip and show business. It's like so different. I get to be updated on everything and I get to use it for my shows too and for
Hmm.
just, random conversations. I
Hmm.
mean, if I talk for a living, I shouldn't have, a topic that isn't touched. So I
Yeah.
should just be knowledgeable about anything and everything. So I guess it's just me wanting to learn more, wanting
Yeah.
to like expand my boundaries and just be, well, I guess a jack of all trades, if that makes sense.
I relate to that so much, and that's part of why I love doing these interviews because I have learned so much of these interviews. It's like from these interviews, it's just I love learning, and I appreciate that about you. Absolutely. So speaking of you working, speaking for a living, actually, one of the subscribers just sent in this question: how do you take care of your voice? Like you're constantly talking. Is there anything that you do
Uh-huh.
to protect your voice, or do you just is it just kind of normal life?
Actually, this is quite dangerous because people would always tell me to like insure your voice or do something like
Mm.
that. But then I don't know if it's available in the Philippines.
Mm-hmm.
I tried researching about it, but I didn't see anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I also actually suffer from GERD, which
Okay.
is, well, me just having hyperacidity and acid reflux
Mm-hmm.
almost every day. And that actually has, I guess, damaged my, well, esophagus in the sense
Mm-hmm.
that I always get like this feeling of, having a lump in my throat.
Mm-hmm.
So it really was a big scare for me. But what I just started to do was not eat a lot of spicy food. I used to love a whole lot of spicy food and like savory food. So control is the best, I guess, solution to that. But for other things like, well, cold water and everything, it's just normal, just a
Yeah.
normal person. But I'm also allergic to chocolate, but then I love chocolate. And that's like my number one trigger for everything. So it's good that I'm allergic to it so it doesn't damage my voice.
Mm-hmm.
But I usually get those allergies really bad that I can't speak properly.
Wow.
So yeah, it's really bad.
That's
And I
wild.
would have like a coughing fit or like, I don't know, a sneezing fit. So, well, I don't want to get into the details of that, but yeah, pretty much like just drink a lot of water.
Yeah.
Hydration is like really key for everything, and
Absolutely.
just control when it comes to other things, I guess. So that's the only way. Apart from that, just a normal, regular person.
Well, I hear that. I think that's just good tips for life in general. Honestly, um, so that's fascinating. Talking about your vocal health and all these things you do between the actual wish bus and also your voiceovers. When you're speaking, I'm curious. Do you typically in your voiceovers or on Wish? Is it typically in English? Is it in Tagalog? Is it how do you? Am I pronouncing that properly?
Yes, yes, you are. But
Okay.
I actually speak predominantly in English.
Oh,
I
because
am not so good with speaking in Tagalog, like on a professional setting.
mm-hmm,
Like I can speak like in normal conversations, but
mm-hmm,
for some reason it doesn't work for me
mm-hmm.
professionally. So yeah, it's always English for me.
Because I mean, speaking to you and speaking to Sergio and even Morissette, like all you guys are, I'm so impressed with like how well spoken in English you are. You know, when Tagalog is the main language there, correct? Or
It is.
Is English like right there with it?
It's like a second language, but I know
Yeah,
most people in the Philippines really do speak really good English.
I've been very impressed. I think it's very cool actually. Just like you're very well spoken, and I think that is very impressive. So, going let's talk about pivot to Wishbus then. Um, how did you get involved with that, and how long have you been involved with that?
Okay, so I just celebrated my 7th anniversary with Wish just this August.
Very
And
cool.
well, Wish also just celebrated its 7th anniversary. So I was there ever since it
You're
started.
an OG.
I'm an OG. I'm the only OG left, to be honest.
Wow. Okay.
And it's actually quite interesting because right now I'm 26 years old, like the same age as you, right? You're
Yes.
26.
Yes.
Awesome. High five right there.
Yes. For real.
Yeah. So 26, yeah, I started when I was 21. Yeah, obviously. Quick math right there. So what happened was I was still at school. I was still studying at uni, which
Okay.
is De La Salle University in the Philippines. I was still doing my thesis. I was just a regular college student, and I just started to go on auditions because I realized that it's a strength
Mm-hmm.
talking, I guess. And I've
Mm.
always been really, well, interested when it comes to the whole world of, the media, the whole world of show business. I've always been that type who would dabble into theater, and I just really love music ever since I was young.
Mm-hmm.
So I just decided to go for it, went on auditions, and then I stumbled upon one of this one of these friends rather that I was able to audition with, who happened to be one of my classmates then. And then she was like, "Hey, there's this radio station looking for DJs. It's Wish." I mean, Wish really was nothing. It was just
Hmm.
a new station asking for, people who would like to audition. So I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Let me try out. Around this same time, I also auditioned for three different radio stations who are actually big in the Philippines already. I'm not gonna name them, but
Sure.
yeah, they were like three big ones already in the Philippines, and I actually was able to get into the three of them
Mm.
around the same time. So I was like, do I take the risk and check out this other radio station since it's basically just nothing. I don't know anything about it. And then there's like these three that I could just easily go to and probably, have a job, like be paid just right there. So I was like, you know what? I'll just take the risk because you
Really?
never you never really know.
Yeah. So what was it? I would love to know a bit of that.
Mhm.
Like, how did you make that decision? Like, was it just like, whatever, or was it like really thought out, like weighing the pros and cons, or because I appreciate that, like,
Mhm.
from the ground up kind of
Yeah.
underdog mentality, but like
Yeah.
most people wouldn't go that way.
Well, probably because I had nothing to lose at that point because I was still in my second year of college.
Mm. Hmm.
So I'm like, why not be adventurous a bit? And you never really know. I mean, these stations are already established, so I get that. But then I feel like there's no space anymore for me there since
Mm.
everyone's just there already. They're all settled in. Like, how do I, go into that? How do I try and pave my way if everyone's already there?
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'll try this out, I guess. And the thing is, when it comes to the frequency of Wish, it's 107.5. It used to be, owned by another radio station that was quite historic in the Philippines. They were like who we owe the resurgence of OPM to,
Mm.
but it was way back. I
Wow.
mean, it was like a historic frequency, 107.5. But then for some reason, they, just stopped operations because of other issues in the management. So there's always that connotation when it comes to that frequency that it's a good station, like it's
Hmm.
something. So I'm like, ooh, it's a good legacy. But I mean, the team that was involved in the past station isn't the management that we have now. But
Hmm.
then there's just something about that frequency that I just had that gut feel that it was going to be good,
Hmm.
like it was going to be different. So I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And
Yeah.
then so I auditioned and I just sent a demo of me just talking, like pretending I'm in a radio show. I forgot what the heck I said there, but then yeah, just pretended. And I was a student here. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Like literally zero. And so I sent my tape 3 days after I was hired.
Wow. I love that, man. I think that is so cool, that story. So, being that I'm from America and New York in particular, I'm not super familiar with like the culture of the radio stations and everything in the Philippines. So I'm curious. While the Wish seems huge to me, where does it actually rate in the Filipino radio world? Is it as big as it seems to me, or are there still massive conglomerates that, like,
Mhm.
Wish is a tiny part of it?
Okay, I would like to confirm that thought. Well, Wish is actually the number one FM YouTube channel in the Philippines. We currently have 11.9 million subscribers on
Wow.
YouTube. And as for radio ratings are concerned, we're in the top three all
Wow,
over the
that is
Philippines.
amazing. That is amazing.
So there you go. And what's awesome is Wish is the only radio station in the Philippines that has an international reach.
Mm.
Like, we've been really great on social media. We've really, built this following. I mean, I think I wouldn't be talking to you right now if it weren't for it,
Well, think
to be
about that.
honest.
So that's probably a fantastic point about the reach you mentioned, the international reach. How many radio stations, even the huge American radio stations, like
Mhm.
there's only a handful that I could really mention that maybe are worldwide, and one of them's not even American, like BBC Radio,
BBC.
but it's
Yes.
really for their social media presence. So let's talk about that. That is fascinating. I would love to hear, since you've been there from the beginning, kind of the thought process people were going through about the social media, and then I want to pivot into how you were able to I want to talk about the actual bus because I think that is the coolest thing. So let's start from the beginning of what were people thinking? How did you guys decide to push your social media? Now, I guess this would have been 2014-ish area, right? Back 7 years. So I thought you froze for a sec. 7 years ago, right? Would be around 2014.
Yes, yes, yes.
So
Exactly.
what
Around
were you
that
guys
time.
thinking about? Like, how did that come about social media wise?
Well, I can't really take all of the credit for it
Sure,
because
sure, yeah.
all of that is well owed to our president and CEO. He is Kuya Daniel Rizon. Fun fact, he's actually the guy who says Wish 1075 on all of the videos. That's literally
That's
him.
wild.
So for all of those people wondering, that's our boss. He's well the man behind everything. His brainchild is Wish 1075.
Amazing.
And I think he's always had this idea of bringing music closer to
Mm-hmm.
people because here in the Philippines, almost all the time that you spend mostly is on the road. Traffic is really bad here.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, why don't I capitalize on that? Why don't
Mm-hmm.
I, try and make something out of this very bad situation? So he
Mm-hmm.
was like, why don't I create a bus that would go around and that would, bring music closer to all of the people? They might be just in traffic, they want to de-stress, so why not, right? And I honestly don't know where he got the idea of having a bus because who thinks of that, right?
I think it is
That's
the
just
coolest. It's
amazing.
like it's actually the part of the reason I love it so much. It's like been part of my dream as a creator. As I love the idea of creating this like on the road studio, like where I could
Yeah.
travel, drive down 100 miles, and like start recording with stuff. Like I think is the coolest thing. So when I saw it,
Mhm.
I'm like, that guy literally did what I wanted to do. It's the coolest thing, and the setup's beautiful. Like it's tastefully done too. It's not like
Mhm.
trashy and janky. Like they did a good job. So sorry, continue.
Yeah. And well, I guess it's also the concept of a tour bus. Like a tour bus
Mm-hmm.
is just a tour bus usually for
Mm-hmm.
artists, but why not give people a glimpse of the tour bus and
Mm-hmm.
open it up for everyone to see? So I guess that's the bus for now. And then for social media, well, I mean, the bus is already something that would, attract people.
Mm-hmm.
So of course he wanted to put the news out there. He wanted more people to be aware of it because if it's just going around in a certain area, then they're just the only ones
Yeah.
who will get to know about it. So social media, we actually do have a dedicated team
Mm-hmm.
that really does handle our social media and content creators that, make branded content for Wish
Yeah.
1075 and everything. And we really just thought of, bringing out the bus and just making people know more about it. I guess that's just really the whole point of it. And we just started to make this whole wishclusive performance thing that you see on the videos, of course, on our YouTube. So yeah, the whole concept was just having people perform. And if you were actually to check out the first ever video of Wish that was uploaded and compare it with the ones of today, it's so different. Believe me, it's
Quality
so
wise,
different. Quality wise, it's so different. I
I.
mean, we didn't have tripods.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was handheld the whole time. Just imagine, watching someone perform and just holding the camera
Yeah.
right that like that. It's just crazy. And the angles were quite shaky and we didn't really think that it would be such a challenge to shoot while the bus was
Mm.
moving because the bus actually moves.
So is it always because that's interesting because I didn't know that while you guys were filming because I've seen
Mhm.
a couple and they seem more like they're like parked somewhere. So I was curious. So sometimes you're filming while
Yes,
driving.
yes.
That's
Sometimes,
the
most of the
coolest
time.
thing. That is
Most of the
so cool.
time
The
we
performances, the
do.
artists, when they're
Yes,
playing, that is crazy. That is
yes.
the coolest thing ever, man.
We
That
usually
is so
move.
cool.
Pre-pandemic, that's really the
See,
norm.
I only
We
discovered it during the pandemic, so that might be a little different. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's cool because I get to talk to them, and then they just get to perform, and the bus just moves.
That
And
is the coolest thing ever, man. It's
yeah,
so
and
cool.
when we would pass a hump, everyone would be like, "Oh my gosh, hold on!"
Ah.
It's just really
Oh.
funny, and we have to tell the driver to not move that fast because
Yeah.
everyone's just gonna go crazy inside. But we usually move when it's just one artist because we tried doing it with bands. Yeah, it wasn't a pleasant experience for the band.
That is the coolest thing ever, man. I love that idea. It is so unique and so fun, man. It's really really cool. So I'm curious what you have found. Has YouTube been the predominant platform for you guys in social media wise, or has like Instagram or TikTok taken off just as much, or if better, or?
Well, really, it is YouTube, and everything just sort of snowballed from there.
Mm-hmm.
So when people discover us on YouTube, obviously they would check out the other social media
Mm-hmm.
platforms. And I think it's also quite consistent
Mm-hmm.
because followers really do literally follow us wherever we go just because of, the YouTube reach and just because they love the video so much. So yeah, I would say it's really YouTube that helped us.
Yeah. I'm super curious how you guys and I mean I would love to speak to even like the president about this or something like that, but like how do you guys and how why a radio station and not like a streaming platform playlist or something like that? Because how do you guys combat that? Because like one of the things you mentioned, and I don't know if you're able to speak to this, and if you are, I'd love to know your thoughts. But like you mentioned, like the president wanted to help people that were in traffic, and I noticed
Mhm.
myself. I haven't listened to the radio in a long time. I usually stream. I put Apple Music on. So I'm curious, how do you guys combat that? The people that are streaming from their phones rather than listening to the radio.
Okay, so the whole point of our, well, CEO, our president, is actually to innovate the platform, to innovate FM radio broadcasting, because he
Mm.
actually was a DJ way back in his heydays. And he just had like an affinity to it. So he
Mm-hmm.
just knows the whole experience of it. And at first, actually, what's really interesting is he wanted to, well, give a rebirth to the whole concept, the mystery concept of the radio. Like before, of course you wouldn't see the DJs, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
before you just have like an image, like this imaginary image of the DJ and just, let your imagination do its part and just think, okay, I think this person looks like this. So that was the whole concept at first. Like he didn't want to show us.
Okay.
It was like that. And we were like, no social media whatsoever. We're just gonna try and make everything a mystery.
Uh
That's
huh.
like the, well, selling point that we were going to have before. But then when the bus actually became popular, it was impossible to hide us.
Mm-hmm.
It was impossible to hide the whole station. So that's when we started opening up and we started becoming active on social media. And while going back to one of your questions, like why the radio? Well, again, it's because radio is still pretty big here in the Philippines.
Okay.
Like almost every day, people would make it a point to open their radios, whatever it is
Mm.
they're doing, cleaning their homes, like just driving. But yes, in the age of Spotify, of course, it's quite hard, right? So what we did was create content that isn't available on your streaming platforms. So it's just on
Mm.
YouTube. You can't find it anywhere else. It's just right there on um, our YouTube and on the radio station. Because the ones that you hear on YouTube, we get to play on the radio, like those Wish exclusive performances. And you
Mm.
can't hear it anywhere else but just there. And no one can rip that too because every single video begins with Wish exclusive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And ends with the Wish 1075 like producer tag. So no
Yeah.
one can really, find it anywhere but there. And since we're all about innovation, we're all about being present on social media. We actually made the radio available also on streaming. We have a
Mm-hmm.
Wish 1075 app, our website. So anywhere people can listen to us. So it's just a matter of preference what they want to listen to. But we have all of the possible mediums available for everyone to check us out.
I love that. I think that is super fascinating, especially the fact that you're talking about. Um, you want to hear your favorite artist do a cover of this or play a
Mm-hmm.
different original of that. Well, you can only hear it. It's a Wish exclusive, right? Like
Very
it's
true.
only on Wish
Mm-hmm.
107.5. It's so catchy too, man. Like where did
And
the
you
Wish
know
come
it.
from?
Oh my
Where did
gosh.
100%. Absolutely. Because it's so well catch. It's so well done. It's like the videos are so well produced. First of all, the lighting's like it just looks good. So they're enjoyable to watch. Now some people don't typically care about that. Like some like it's funny. Like some YouTubers have like these huge followings and they're like still
Mhm.
filming like in a dark room with no lighting and people don't care. But as a creator myself, that I do care about that stuff. I appreciate the quality of the videos that you guys are putting out and just the quality of content and everything. And then you're right, the exclusives that you guys have, and like you said, the catchiness of certain things. Do you know where the Wish came from?
Okay, this is
WISH.
actually another quite interesting concept because our president again is, well, a man of, well, great acts. He's a philanthropist. So wish actually is because we also grant wishes aside from your regular
Mm,
song wishes, aside from your regular, greetings and stuff and whatever it is that goes on the programming. We actually have a charitable aspect. Like we grant wishes of people who need it.
I
We
love that.
help the less fortunate. We would, like, give back to our listeners. So that's the wish aspect. We grant wishes of the listeners.
I
So
love
that's
that.
what wish stands for.
That is so cool. That's pretty brilliant. I love that. So being a part of Wish Yourself, and you decide to go instead of going with the major platforms at the time, which is pretty amazing in the sense of like I don't know where those platforms stand. We're not going to talk about which ones they were, but where they stand now. You it seems like you probably made the right choice. But
I did.
I would love to know how you branded yourself, how you became like the DJ Alice yourself, and made yourself stand out, while also not while promoting the Wish as a whole, because you don't want to forget about them. But like, how did you brand yourself as the DJ?
What
Make
I love
yourself
most
unique.
about like being on the station is their values align with mine. So I
Mm,
didn't really have to adjust at all. I was just myself. And what I
mm-hmm,
loved about them is they gave me the freedom to find myself,
mm.
to actually know the things that I want to talk about. They gave me the freedom to do whatever I wanted on the show. Like I didn't even have training.
Wow.
I didn't. What I had to do was just like be taught how to press the buttons, do like the loading of the commercials and everything and the songs and whatever. And apart from that, that's it.
Hmm.
I was just left in the wild, do whatever you wanted to do. Yeah, and I guess it paid off. I'm
Yeah,
doing the right thing, I guess.
absolutely.
So, well, for my identity, I really would like to think that I'm authentic when it comes to who I am, really, as a person. I know that your craft and your actual self really have to be, I guess, divided or at least quite different. But I don't believe in that. I believe that who you are as a person should reflect in what you do.
Oh, absolutely.
So who I am as a DJ is me as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just, I guess, a carefree person. As I say on my bio, I am an optimistic girl with extraordinary dreams. So I'm just
Amen to that.
a regular girl who just has big dreams and it just has this positive outlook. And yeah, I'm also really big on, using my platform for a bigger purpose. So my
Yeah.
shows usually are all about, um, motivation. It's all about people having a safe space to share whatever it is they think and feel. Because here in the Philippines, radio stations have this, like, I guess, connotation of just, blurting out jokes or just being there for
Mm,
the entertainment or like
mm-hmm.
for escapism. But for me, I wanted to, like, be that type of person who would confront it head on. I would be that type of person who
Wow.
would like to talk about those things that people don't usually talk about, ask the questions people don't usually ask. So I was just, I guess, that type of person that I needed when I was younger. Like I wanted to listen
Yeah.
to me when I was younger. If
Yes.
I just had that
Oh
person,
my gosh.
so I just went on and became that. So I usually talk about life every single day on my shows. I have random life questions and I would just have an open forum with my listeners. They would answer my questions on social media. They would text me all of their responses and I would read them out on the air and I would just give them my 2 cents. That's about it. It's like an open forum,
I
basically.
love that. I love that. I think that is fantastic. I relate tremendously with what you said about being the person that you wish you had when you were a kid. That is 100% how I focus my career as well. That is probably one of the most relatable things that anybody's ever said in any of these interviews with me, like just chatting and
Aw.
stuff. Like I relate to that so much because that's how I've run everything. Like there was when I started as a musician, there was no information. And all the information that was out there are people that never made it in the music industry. So I'm like, why in the world would I take your advice when
If you
like
didn't even make it.
yeah, you have like 4 listeners on Spotify. Like I'm not gonna listen to your advice on how to, make a million, like get a million streams when you literally have 4. It like makes no sense. It's all theories. So I'm like, there's nobody that's paved the way that's actually documented the process, and that I've documented my process the entire way, like, and because I want to be that person for somebody next. You know what I mean? I love that. I think that that is so cool. So you mentioned having extraordinary dreams. I would love to know if you're comfortable sharing
Mhm.
what that means to you. You know, what are some of the dreams, or even however deep you want to go into that.
Okay, so extraordinary dreams is just basically me helping out another person, like what you said. I've always wanted to be that type of person who would inspire others. I have always wanted to leave a legacy,
Hmm.
no matter how big or small it might be,
Hmm.
even just helping one person, giving that person hope. That really would mean a lot to me. And that is, well, something extraordinary, I guess, because people don't usually dream about those things. They would always dream about things for themselves. I mean, of course, I
Hmm.
do have dreams for myself, but I guess I just want to make my life count.
Yeah.
I just want to leave something
I
when
love
I
your
actually
perspective
go.
on life.
Thank
I
you.
really I appreciate it very very much. I think it is very unique, very mature. But I think maturity is so misconstrued because like you could be 50 years old and not
Not be
have that
mature.
maturity. Exactly. I appreciate the way you think about life, and I relate to it very much. It's cool. I appreciate it. Um, so yeah, so talking about the legacy and everything like that, I had a question. I was not sure where I was going with that. But yeah, I like I said, I love the personality and your thought process. You go, where do you think a lot of that comes from for you? Do you is it from your parents? Is it where do you think you develop this like optimistic, like anything's possible kind of personality?
I really would like to think it's from my family and from my upbringing
Hmm.
because they've always been believers of me. Like, even if I
Hmm.
didn't believe in myself, they would be like, you can do this. Like, they just pushed me to do whatever I really wanted to do. Because, okay, let's get a little personal. I'm actually the only girl. I have five older brothers, and my youngest brother is 10 years older than I am.
Okay.
So, of course, I would be the little princess. So, I would just basically get all of the attention,
Uh
and
huh.
they would be like, do whatever you want to do. We support you. Because my parents actually wanted to have a baby girl ever since. But
Hmm.
they tried and tried and got a boy, a boy, a boy, a boy, a boy. And then after 10 years, it's me. So, I guess it worked to my advantage because
Hmm.
they just gave me the freedom that I needed
Hmm.
to spread my wings and fly. As cheesy as that may sound, I sound like a Hallmark card, but but then again, yeah, I really do owe everything, I guess, to my family because without them, I wouldn't be where I am now.
Hmm.
And one of the reasons why I really pushed myself to pursue my dream is to give back to them for all of the support and love that they have given me because I know a lot of people don't really get the same amount of
Yes.
support. I mean, people could just dream of that support. So, yeah, I really think it's that. And I guess it's also just growing up in a loving household.
Hmm.
It's just really that for me.
Absolutely, and I love the fact that you are now being that for somebody that might not have it. Not every family is like our family. My family is very similar, so like not every family, for many circumstances cannot
Mhm.
be this is not like that or did not have the same upbringing. So now it's amazing you have the opportunity to, bring that to other people.
Yeah, it really has touched me and it has, well, manifested in a whole
Hmm.
lot of ways. Like, I kid you not, my Facebook inbox is just like full of people asking for advice. And it
Hmm.
was like really funny for me at first because imagine I was just starting. I was like 22 and it was like my first year on the job. And here we have like listeners who are like 50 years old asking for like marriage advice. Like, what do I do? My wife and I just fought. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't. So maybe I'll just look at it at a logical perspective. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a firm believer that you don't have to go through something in order to give sound advice and
Hmm.
rational advice. Because, you could just be that type of person who would be looking from the outside.
Yeah.
So sometimes when you're like so in it, or if you've already been through it, your judgment gets clouded because of course you would pick a
It's
side
interesting.
if
That's
you're
very
there.
interesting. Sure.
So if you're just outside and you actually get to see the bigger picture, you get to give a more rational advice or something that would not be seen from the inside. because
Yeah.
you just like when you're just near something, of course you'll just see what's right in front of you or to your side, but when you're like looking at the bigger picture, of course there are so many other things.
Mm.
Sometimes we also tend to overcomplicate things when they're not really that in reality.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I remember talking to like random wives or husbands asking for advice, girlfriends and boyfriends, and even those who like want to admit to their crushes. I have had a variety of those. And I guess the most touching one was there was a handful of people who are, well, really not feeling that great when it comes to life. Some of them are depressed. And I
Mm-hmm.
even had like this message coming from someone who was going to attempt suicide at
Mm-hmm.
one point. But I, for some reason, just wanted to talk to this person. I didn't know that she was, having these tendencies. But she told me after a few weeks that I actually stopped her from doing that.
Well,
So that's like one of the, I guess, well, memories I would never forget,
yeah.
and like reminders that, oh, I must be doing something right. When it's just something that warms my heart that it actually is, you know, something that I can do with this platform. Like for me, sometimes when I talk on the radio, I feel like I'm just playing. I
Mm.
feel like I'm just there yapping all day long. And I still, up until this day, don't think that there are people listening, but there actually are. Up until this day, I don't
Mm-hmm.
believe it until
Yeah.
someone actually comes up to me and says, I listen to you. I'm like,
Yeah.
really? I
Yeah.
never really know how to react to that.
Yeah.
So it's just, I guess, it's a humbling experience. And it's just really nice to know that people actually listen. I
Yeah.
mean, there are so many like other outlets that they could enjoy, like so many other people you can listen to, but here you are
Yeah.
listening to me on the
Absolutely.
radio. So that's just really something that makes me feel fulfilled about
Mm.
this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. That is, yeah, that's fascinating. It's. I hope you recognize the fact that you're already making an impact, and you're already leaving a legacy. So, it's amazing.
I'm getting goosebumps.
Yeah, for real, absolutely. So, I have a super quick question, and I kind of want to follow up in a slightly different way. But you mentioned a bit earlier that people have texted you. Do you have like a texting number where they can text you at, or is the wish number, or what? What is? How does that work?
I have my social media pages. Usually it's on Facebook. So
Mm-hmm.
if you guys have Facebook, you can like my page and follow me there. It's DJ Alice Wish 1075. And yeah, my inbox is just open there. But if Facebook isn't your thing, I know for some countries it isn't as big anymore. So there's Instagram and Twitter, DJ Alice 1075. It's all the same.
Have you? Yeah. So all those links will be in the description if people want to check those out. Have you? Totally like just tech really quick. Have you ever gotten looked into getting one of those actual like app phone numbers?
I actually have not thought of that. Thank
They're
you for
really
that
interesting.
idea.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
what I use. I use WhatsApp. WhatsApp isn't as great because the app that I use is called Community app.
Hmm.
I'm not sure if it's based in outside of America yet, but if it is, it's you have it. You can choose your area code. So you like, for example, like where I'm from is 631, and then it gives you a random generated number from that. But then people can text that number, and then like it goes to this app, and then you can respond from that app right from your phone. So I just
Ooh.
open the community app, and then you could like it's really cool for community engagement, but you don't give out your actual phone number. So it's actually really cool. WhatsApp isn't as great because it doesn't have all the capabilities, and like you have to create a group and then everybody can see who's in the group, and it's like it's a little sketchy. And people start
Yeah.
calling, and then at like 2 o'clock in the morning, you get a WhatsApp call, and it's like, no, it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
It's
Like,
not like this.
yeah.
Yeah. I actually
So,
had one of those issues before. I mistakenly um showed my number on my Facebook account.
oh,
I got random calls and texts at like
oh
2
shoot,
a.m. just
yeah,
like you. And I'm like, nope, gonna change my number now. Gonna take that away from my
yeah,
profile.
yeah.
There you go. But I really know what that means.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm curious. You talk about like the humbling fact that it is, and the honor that it is that people are actually listening, and I relate very much to the fact of like it. Sometimes it blows my mind like that people are even watching the like even watch right now. There's over almost 50 people just watching this, and like it's easy as a creator, especially on like YouTube or something like that, to disconnect from the numbers. like with how many viewers or monthly viewers you have or whatever the case is, because they're just numbers on a screen. But when you kind of like disconnect from that and say they're not, it's not just, however, whatever, it's like, no, it's actual people. Like I was like, I remember I had this one specific memory, like I was like, it was about almost a year ago, and like I don't remember what this. It was like in the 30,000s. I was getting like 30,000 views a day or something like that on my channel, and I was like, just thinking, I was like, and then they like realized what that meant, and like I almost like threw up. I was like, I can't believe that's meant that many people. Like I was like, oh, I just got so, because you don't think about it, and then I was like, I got so nervous. I'm like, what happens if I have a pimple on my face now? 30,000 people are gonna. I just had a realization that those are real people, and it's just so humbling. Like, wow, I can't believe that many people are watching, and but it's also the alternative of that is like sometimes when things slow down, it's a little scary for the career, because like, am I doing something wrong now? Why are people losing interest? What's going on? And I'm curious, if you've ever had to experience that, where it's like, maybe the listenership, for whatever reason, whether it be the time of year or whatever the case, has declined, and how you handle that.
Of course, I mean, when it comes to the entertainment industry, everything's really unpredictable. I guess that's one of the things that everyone knows if you're in the industry. It's like, yeah, you have to enjoy every single moment, because you never know. Maybe tomorrow it won't be like that anymore. I swear.
That's
it's really like
so
that.
true.
So there were some times that, ratings would fluctuate. Like, the subscriber count isn't as fast as before. I mean, there would always be stuff like that. But then I learned in the process that you shouldn't really be that type of person who seeks validation from followers and from the numbers.
Absolutely.
Because that's definitely going to screw up, the authenticity of what you're doing.
Preach. Come on. Like, everything that I say on this channel is literally you're reiterating it. So I'm just like, absolutely.
Spirit animal.
Yeah, for real, man. Like, absolutely. It clouds the authenticity because you start pandering to those numbers. Absolutely.
Yeah. And
but
you
sorry,
would always
continue.
like try to conform to what you think people would like more, or what other people are doing. But then again, the reason why you're here, the reason why you're in the position that you're in, is because you are your own self. You're different from everyone, and you are set apart from what actually makes you different. I would always think that those things that would make you different aren't flaws. Those aren't like your weaknesses, but those are actually your strengths.
Yeah.
Because that is what sets you apart from other people. I actually am brought back to this one comment that I got, I guess, a week ago. I even made a post about it on my social media pages. So there was this one dude. I don't usually get hate comments a lot. So when it actually does happen, I'm like, oh gosh, what did I do wrong? Or like, why does this person hate me? But then again, the hate comments I get aren't fully hate. Like, for example, this person went, why are you always asking questions? Like, you're pretty, you're attractive, but don't you want to do something else? Because I see that the engagement isn't really so high on these questions that you have. So you might want to do something more interesting. That was the comment. So I'm like, so do you mean that just because I look a certain way that I should do this, be that type of person who would joke around and make clickbait? I mean, is that how it's supposed to be? So I made fun of it. I made light of it, rather, not fun of it. I would never do that. So I would like to read out what I actually said.
Yeah, please.
In response to this, because a lot of people were all in on that. And what I loved most about it is people actually defended me, and they were telling the hater that, like, these questions that she has every day, our day isn't complete without answering them. Because as you said, there are some people who don't have the same support system as we do, and some people only have these conversations live on the radio every single day to be in check when it comes to their mental health or how they're actually doing, because no one asks them that.
And who cares if it's 50,000 people or 5,000 or 5 people?
Exactly. That's what I
Because
said.
the truth is, you're gonna be who you are, with 5 people as you are with 50. That, like, it shouldn't matter. You should just be, and that's a hard thing, I think, psychologically to manage. But I think that it's super important. So I'd love to hear what your response was.
Okay, so I'll paraphrase since I am like drowning in my own social media posts. There you go. I found it. Okay, so I said, thank you for the comment. Social media isn't my only platform. These questions are also my daily topics on the radio shows. It might not be as appealing for you, but there are people whose days aren't complete without
Yeah.
answering these questions. Everyone else might be cracking jokes or doing more interesting things, but I choose to ask questions and make people ponder in this era prone to insubstantiality. It might not reach hundreds of thousands of people, but if I manage to make even a handful of people sit down and think, I'll gladly take it.
Preach! Come on, absolutely. I love it. I love the perspective that you have, and I just appreciate the authenticity, and that's why I think people are drawn to the content that you create in your channel and your shows, and that's why I think you have the opportunity that you have. You host two
Yeah,
shows with Wish, right? And right, that
three.
is it three? What's the times? It's 9 to 12, and then you have the
9 to
this.
12. I have 4 to 8, that's the road show,
Oh,
and
four
8
to
to
eight.
9, yeah.
Okay,
And
I
then
missed that
8 to
one.
9 is another stream on TikTok and Facebook Live.
Yeah, so I remember that one. So I forgot the 4 to 8.
Yeah.
So what is that? That's 9 to 12 is 3 hours. 4 to 8 is 7 hours total, and then so it's 8 hours a day. You do. So like you're getting paid 8 hours a day because, or let me rephrase that. People want to hear you for 8 hours a day because of the authentic, like because of who you are. You're being authentic, and like whether you was 5 people listening or 500,000 people listening. There's a phrase that like talks. It's usually related to money, but I think it relates to notoriety, fame, whatever you want to call it, like who you are before the money or the fame or the success is who you're going to be with it, only amplified, I think. So if you are a very generous person, a kind person, I think that it's amplified. Or if you're a greedy jerk, it's it's going to be amplified. The money or the fame or the success isn't going to change. Yeah, it's not going to change you. It's just going to make you farther in whatever direction you already are.
I have to agree with you right there. And well, going back to what you said a while ago, that people actually do listen. Like you saying that out loud, it's so different. Like I never really thought of that till now.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really like think about. Yeah.
What are you referencing? I'm not. Which part are you referencing?
Okay,
I lost your train of thought.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Just there, you were like telling everyone how no matter how many people listen, people actually listen, and you are being paid to talk for 8 hours a day because you're authentic.
Yeah.
So that along the lines of that, like I never really thought of that till you said it out loud.
Yeah.
And it's weird to actually, be able to point that out like right in front of me and just you saying that, oh gosh, it's just different. How to
but
process that.
I hope that's a good thing.
It is.
Okay.
It is. It's just surreal for me.
Yes.
It's still a dream for me up until this day.
Yes. But it's also, I think, two things. I think that authenticity creates a depth with the audience, and it creates, I think, a longevity. There's some people that have it creates a real connection. Like while we might love certain entertainers, we don't connect to them. We don't feel like they like I am a huge fan of Taylor Swift, right? But like I almost forget that she's human sometimes. Like, and I'm not the kind of person that gets all like worshipy with artists. I think like I'm like, well, like if they pass by me, I start crying. Like that's not who I am at all. I just like I sometimes, or I think I'm like, shoot, like it's I mean we're in different time zones, but I'm like it's 10 o'clock in the morning by me. Like that means like Taylor Swift could be eating breakfast, and you just forget that they do those things, right? Because like they're just like you don't see that. There's like almost, but like, and then but there's not that she's not authentic or it's just a different like level of how they handle their image, right? But when I think that people like really talk and go deep, like they connect to you and I don't know, it's two different ways to do it, and not that either is better than the other. I think that it just creates a deeper connection, I think.
Yeah, well, here's another aspect of the whole DJ thing. One of the things that I get to do, like one perk, is getting to interview so many people.
Mm.
So it's not only just here in the Philippines, but all around the world. I get to interview, well, most artists who's like promoting something new at the moment. So what I learned from all of my experience interviewing people and people in the industry, they're just normal people.
Yes.
They're just
Yes.
normal people, exactly. And
Yes.
it's a very stark difference from what we experience inside the bus. Like, just to put things into perspective, like inside the bus, of course, we're facing each other, we're just having a normal conversation. But outside the bus, there are hordes of people
Yeah.
who are just freaking out because this
Yeah.
artist is right in front of them. But then they forget that they're just normal people,
Yeah.
like those
It's
things that
wild.
you don't see. Like, for example, if an artist is on the bus, of course, you get to see them, like, even when the cameras aren't rolling, even
Mm-hmm.
if it's not on air. So people actually get to see more a human side of those
Mm-hmm.
artists when they are there on the Wish bus. And as for me, like, I just get to know that their, well, media persona, their social media persona is just so far from who they are in real life. Like,
Sure.
they're really not like that at all.
Yeah.
Like, I would have never expected certain artists to be a certain way.
I relate to that actually because I there's this artist that I was following. Like he grew up in my town. He got some serious notoriety. He's a photographer, and
Uh-huh.
like the images that he does are kind of dark, kind of eerie. So like he has this rough like
Vibe to him.
yeah, like not that he's a jerk, but like just he has a big beard, like like wears
Okay.
like older style clothes, like more vintage kind of look. So he seems like closed up. I introduced myself to him, and he's the nicest guy in the world. And it's just like this stark difference between his creative craft and who he actually is. And I'm like, you're right. Your social media presence is like his is like totally
Totally
different than
different.
who he actually. He's like a really good friend of mine now, and he's just. It's so funny how like you would never know. Not that he looks like a jerk. He just looks more
Yeah.
closed off and shy, and but he's so
Mhm.
nice. It's so funny.
Yeah, sometimes, intimidation would get the best of us, or
Yeah.
like what we see on the media is what we think is real when it's
Hmm.
really not. Sometimes it's manufactured
Yeah.
just because, artists
Yeah.
need to fit a certain mold or to sell records and to have a following. You know this more than anyone.
Hmm.
So sometimes people have to conform to that. But then again, I guess this is where the authenticity
Hmm.
would come into play. Because if you're not authentic when it comes to yourself as a person and when it comes to your craft, it really does reflect.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's
you
hard to
actually
sustain it
really have
too.
to love what you do.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, quick question about the Wish Bus. Does it only play OPM, original Filipino music, or does it play other genres of music as well? How does that work?
So think of it as your regular radio station. We do play top 40. We play songs from the 70s. Just to give
Cool.
you an idea, we play songs from the 70s up until the present.
Okay.
And it's not limited to OPM.
Okay.
We play most songs you hear on any type of radio
Mm.
station. So, yeah, we even play K-pop. We even play
Hmm.
BTS there.
Hmm.
So it's just really random. It's like anything and everything for everyone. That's
That's cool.
always been what we are as a station. We're very inclusive. So
Hmm.
we don't just discriminate. It's not just for oldies, it's not just for Gen Z or
Hmm.
millennials, it's for everyone. So it's like those classics that your mom and dad used to listen to, your grandpa and your grandma, there's something for them. And for, I guess, your aunts and whoever, and then the songs for you. And then
Yeah.
if you love OPM, there's that too. So it's basically 70s up until the present with
That's
the
cool.
the addition of the Wishclusive performances. So everything,
I love
really.
that. I think that's so. It's so cool, man. Absolutely. So, in your position, what would you give advice to somebody that wanted to be in your position? Say there's somebody watching this later that would love to be a DJ. Wherever they are. Like,
Mhm.
or create some sort of platform where they kind of are a music curator, whatever the case is. Like, what would you give back, like as your advice?
Okay, so as you said, platforms really come from, I guess, different sources. It doesn't have to be a radio
Hmm.
station, it could be a YouTube
Yeah.
channel, it could be a podcast.
Yes.
So, my main advice would be to carve your own path.
Mm.
You should be able to find, your niche, as you said a while ago. You should be able to find that area where you fit in. You don't have to conform to everyone else's, standards. You can make something that works for you.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most special things, one of the most important things is first to do it for yourself, to be that type of person you needed when you were younger, like what we
Yes.
were talking about a while ago.
I love
And
that.
everything could just snowball from there.
Yeah.
Just be really authentic who you are as a person, what you want to talk about, what you're passionate about. It's really important that you bank on that,
Mm-hmm.
because the ride to whatever goal you wish to achieve isn't going to be easy.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have that spark within you that won't die.
Yes.
So you have
I,
to feed that.
yes, I would actually love to touch on that point. And I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're a super busy person, so we'll wrap it up shortly. And I want to thank you again for taking the time. But I think that that is so important, actually. And I think that it kind of gets glossed over. Are some of the hardships that we all endure? Like people just see where we are now. And actually, before I even go into this, I want to reference. You mentioned very early in the beginning talking about how you looking at the first Wish exclusive performance to now. I recommend people do that when they want to start a YouTube channel. To me, I say, look, go back to when I first started, go 6 months, watch those videos, then go sit watch a video 6 months apart on my channel, and you'll see like this setup that I have now, it took 5 years to get. Like people think that it's automatic. They want to start where you are now, but like I'm like no, go back 7 years ago when I started, and then see what it looked like, and then see the progression of year over year, like, and then you can have a real judgment. And I relate to that with the Wish exclusives you were saying. But I would love to know your perspective on just a couple, maybe one or two hardships that you can share, feel comfortable sharing, just because I think they get glossed over and people think it's a patty walk. Oh, she just is now in the top three, or she's a DJ at one of the top three radio stations. They don't see the hard work or the perseverance it took to get there.
Yeah, of course. I mean, just like a regular person, I too have, those moments where my self esteem isn't the best.
Sure.
When, of course, I doubt if I'm, doing the right thing, if I still
Sure.
have growth, if people actually listen. There's always thoughts like that. And I know those come around often, especially for people who are creatives like us.
Mm-hmm.
We would always have those moments where we're like, am I still, loving what I do? Of course,
Mm.
I would have those moments. And it doesn't help that sometimes just randomly, like for some reason, for example, the ratings would dip,
Yeah.
or the subscriber count wouldn't increase, or you have like unfollowers or stuff like
Mm-hmm.
that. Of course, those would get to you. But the good thing about me is, again, I'm a very optimistic
Mm-hmm.
person. I just learned how to disconnect from all of that.
Yeah.
I guess it's a skill and it's a blessing and also a curse that sometimes I don't get to absorb so many things, well, that much as I should have. I've always been that type of person who's a bit carefree. I know
Mm-hmm.
it's quite dangerous, but yeah, I would just like to think that, I mean, life, especially amidst the pandemic, is just fleeting. I mean, would you
Yeah.
rather just dwell on all of the negativities than live the life that you still have?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what reminder always is something that I come back to is you shouldn't rush because you have your own story and your own
Mm.
timeline. You
Preach.
don't have to conform to whatever everyone else is experiencing or what everyone's doing.
Yeah.
We should stop romanticizing youth. You don't have to rush to accomplish everything in your
Mm.
20s. You could
Preach, man.
you
You
could just
yeah.
do whatever it
Absolutely.
is you want to do instead of dwelling on those mistakes that you had before. You
Yeah.
can use them as fuel for you to grow and like an extra push to help you better yourself.
Yeah.
Like, looking at those past videos, that could be, something that would, you know, be that humbling experience that you're looking for, and be like,
Mm.
hey, I've actually come this far. I've done so many good things and so many things I never thought that I would do.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
always, I guess, remind yourself of why you started in the first place. Because in the process, there would always be, things that would discourage you. But if you have like that clear, well, thought, that clear reminder of why you're doing this in the
Yeah.
first place, then that's going to put you back on track.
Absolutely. I relate to that so much. And I think it is super, super important. information and just mindsets. I hope people are absorbing this, that are watching now and after the fact. Rewind it 7 times because you definitely need to hear all that stuff. I need to hear all that stuff. It's so important. It's so true. And one of the things I just want to touch on really quickly, you mentioned kind of not being able to connect to some of the comments or the growth and whatever the case is, the metrics. And I relate to that tremendously. I think it's a scar that I have to some degree from when I first started my career. Like there was so many broken promises, I guess you could say, or empty promises that like it's like you'd get this amazing email, be like they're offering so much, and then it just falls through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like I'm like it's not true until it's already finished. Right? But not only that, but I think that even relating to comments and the compliments we get, I don't think it's possible to hear the compliments without hearing the negativity. And if I think that you allow the compliments to actually mean something to you, that means that the negativity also means something to you. You can't choose. Yes. So I choose to not let any of them. So like while I tremendously appreciate the compliments, I don't hear them just as much as I don't hear the negativity, because like you can't let one in and not the other. You either let both in or none at all. And I try very hard to not, because otherwise your ego is going to get inflated. And if those
very true,
if those compliments stop all of a sudden for whatever reason, like you're in a scary place. Or if you start listening too much to the negative. So I try very hard, and it seemed kind of like you were too, to just not let any of it get to you, and you just be your truest self.
Yeah, I have to agree with what you said there. Now you're my spirit animal.
Somebody put this in the chat earlier. I haven't heard this one, but I like this too. Soul siblings.
Oh,
I think that's kind of cool.
High five, soul siblings.
Yeah, for real.
I love this.
I like that. I like that way of putting it.
Okay.
But to wrap it up, I want to know, I like asking everybody this. You've been doing this for a couple of years now. What is one thing that you wish you knew that you know now back when you started?
Oh, wow. Such a loaded question. Oh, where do I begin? Well, I guess it's connecting it to what you just said. Don't take everything too seriously. Have fun. Loosen up. Because, all of the seriousness, all of, I guess, the gravity of the things that you're doing, when you let that get the best of you, you actually won't be able to, well, do your purpose. Because again, when, for example, you let all of the negativity, all of the compliments too, to get the best of you, that would cloud your judgment. That would definitely, as you said, inflate your ego. So you just have to be in tune, and you have to be very in touch with yourself, your priorities, what you believe in, because again, this whole industry is just crazy. It's so easy to get lost in everything, to just go with the flow, with the current. Well, you just really have to know yourself, I guess. It's just you holding it firm, like who you are as a person, what you believe in. That's, I guess, one of the biggest lessons. Never lose yourself in the process of everything, because when you say yes to other people, just remind yourself that you shouldn't say no to yourself in that process. So when you say yes to other people, it doesn't mean that you have to say no to yourself.
Yeah. I love that, man. So absolutely.
I guess it's just that, and it's okay not to do what everyone else is doing. So again, as I said a while ago, be your own person, be your own platform, carve your own path. That's really one of my life mantras.
Preach. I love it. There has been this interview, it ended up being about an hour long. People need to take it once a month and listen to the hour, because there was you put out so much quality mindset, thought processes that I think really, if people really get them in, it'll shape their life in a really good way. So I want to thank you for taking the time out of your insanely busy schedule for coming here on the channel. I'm going to have all your links down below in the description, but is there any other way that the people that are watching now or after the fact can support you and what you're up to these days?
Okay, so aside from my social media pages that are like down below, I'm inviting everyone to please support Wish 1075. We are live on the radio 24/7. There's always going to be a DJ there for you. And even if I do work all of my days away, it's not just me there. There are other DJs there too. So please do check them out.
Yeah.
And you can tune into us any part of the world. You could just download the Wish 1075 app that is available for free across all of your smartphones. And you can also check out our website, wish1075.com. And check us out on Facebook and Instagram, Wish1075, and on TikTok as well. That's a new thing we're trying. So just please check us out and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WishFM1075 official. And with that, I thank you.
Yeah, dude, I love that. You were firing them off. You had all the info ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys so much for watching. If you could just hang out 2 seconds, Alice, I appreciate everybody that watched. Definitely go check out all the things that she was talking about. All the links will be down in the description. Go check out her Instagram so you can stay up to date on what she's doing on the Wish bus. And I want to check out the Wish app. So everybody else download the Wish app too. So I'll see you guys in the next video. The best way to support the channel is subscribing and checking out my own personal music, Jacob